Hey everybody, welcome to Georgia.
Georgia!
Yeah, we have got all set up in our daughter's backyard here, and once you know it, Ninette's already figured out the pickleball, and she doesn't even want me to get set up. She is going out.
My friend says, as soon as we pulled in, can you make it? Let's go.
Yep.
I mean, right then. 15 minutes.
So she's taking off, and she's gonna go check it out and have some fun finally playing pickleball. So we are here visiting our daughter and her husband. His deal is RC planes. He actually develops quadcopters and things like that. So we're gonna check that all out. And then we're gonna talk to our daughter because she does puzzles. She creates puzzles, and she's involved in a big
conference.
big puzzle conferences and everything. So we're going to check into that a little bit. Plus, we got to get some work done on the rig. So this is going to be, we're going to be here for 12 days. And we're going to be working every day, doing something, trying to get everything all done before we take off. Everyone, meet Janelle, our daughter. She's an artist. And she has this business called 3 Cat Macs. And so do you want to kind of tell us a little bit about it?
So my name is Janelle, and my business is 3 Cat Macs. I make curiously peculiar puzzles.
That's a mouthful.
Yeah, it is. The puzzles are quite a brain teaser, and I create them on a laser cut. Between myself and my husband, managed to get like 4 degrees and buy a house and move cross country before we actually got the laser. When we finally did in 2017, it took a little bit for me to figure out what to make with it. And I kind of stumbled across wooden puzzles that are laser cut, and I'd never seen them before and thought it was amazing. But I do my own spin on things, and I don't have a way to print images. I don't have a color printer to glue paper onto a puzzle. So what I do is I put primer on a puzzle. Like you can see, this little guy, is just white. And then I take watercolors and I paint them so that you get something like this. And it has, this one is cute because its tail moves. But it's watercolor, and it's been clear coated, and it's a totally unique way to do things because that's all I am, totally unique. And have a couple of other examples. Why it looks like this is because there's masking on the front of it, and then somebody buys it, they take the masking off, and there's a little paint kit so they can do their own watercolor and paint the state of Georgia. And then this one is too hard to put together really fast. It's actually a white sprinkled donut, and it's delicious. And that one gave rise to this one, which is we call this the senior version or the kid version. Either way, younger or older. It was actually designed for a customer of mine who asked for a puzzle for dementia because she has increasing mental difficulties, and some of the other puzzles that I make are way too difficult for her, but she loves the style. So I designed this puzzle so that each puzzle piece, also they're really thick, but they're pretty large, so they're easy to hold for older hands. And they have a very specific shape. Like there's only one matching set, like each line is a different match. So it's a lot easier to put it together. I also make puzzle designs that I sell through the Glowforge catalog, where they accept my designs. And this is one of them that's in the works, where it's a puzzle that I used to make at 6 inches in a different material, and I don't make it anymore. So I figured, hey, let me redesign it so that it's actually a tray puzzle, which is what's called when you have a shape or a tray that you put the puzzle together in. And let me design it like this, and then anybody who has access to a Glowforge, they can buy the design from Glowforge. I'm also part of a steering committee for a puzzle I would call it an experience. But we have this big convention. There's about 100, 150 people show up just for fancy puzzles. Wooden puzzles, titanium puzzles, acrylic puzzles, not cardboard puzzles so much, but anything that's not cardboard is free game. And it's called the Puzzle Parley. It's in Rochester this year in July. And this is one of the trophies. So I made it so that it is a puzzle. And it's inside acrylic, and the acrylic actually has tabs that unlock, so you can take it apart and you can assemble it, you know, provided you want it. And it goes to the Best in Show for that convention.
And when is that convention?
July 18 through 20, it's that weekend.
Okay.
So I've been planning it since last January.
And you guys have this every year?
Every other year.
Every other year, okay.
Yeah, and then I also started another one because I am into pain. That's called Puzzle Jam South, because Puzzle Parley is always in the Northeast, and a lot of people can't get to the Northeast very easily, so we decided to start one called Puzzle Jam South, but we don't discriminate against puzzle types. If you want cardboard puzzles, that's great. If you want wooden puzzles, that's great. So we have that event, and that we did that in 2023. So our next event's 2025, and we are currently in the process of becoming a nonprofit. So lots and lots of paperwork. All right, so when I start a puzzle, the first thing I do is get out my tablet, and I have a program on here called Concepts Art, and it allows me to draw lines. So the Puzzle Parley, remember, we have a little program called the Collector Card Program, which is a 2x3 inch, and a lot of the cutters will donate about 10 or so of these puzzles just to be handed out to everybody. So my design is going to be cats, because cats, I like cats. And this is called 9 Lives, and it is literally 2x3 inches. I export it as a vector file and open it in Inkscape. This is what that peach cat looks like in Inkscape. And I can go on here and manipulate every single one of these teeny tiny lines to make sure that I can even, go in to the point where I am so dang close, and I can go in here and line up every single cut.
So how many times do you run something on laser and then it's like trash?
Well, the whole process, like if it's something this tiny, it might take a day or two. Like
to work out all the bugs and...
Well, I'll drive the design, bring it to the computer, clean it up, because it comes in with 1,000 little nodes on there. So I'll clean it up to make sure there's not that many. Take it into the laser, test cut. Sometimes I've test cut up to 5 or 6 times and done a little tweak, test cut it, done a little tweak. And yeah, I'm getting better, more experienced. I've been doing this for 4 or 5 years. So I can normally make sure that they are completely interlocking puzzles if that's what I want, with maybe 2 tests at the max. So getting a little better. So this is the design. Each is different colors. Like you can see, this is kind of a blue color. That is a score line on the laser, which means it does not cut all the way through the wood. The black is going to be an engrave, where it makes a darker area. And the pink are cut lines. So I will take this and save it, and then open it in the Glowforge program. And I already have a piece of wood loaded up in the Glowforge. The laser's on, and it's gonna slowly update. It has a camera in there, so I can actually see the bed and figure out where I'm putting the pattern to get cut from. So this is what's actually laying in there. This is, if you recognize it, it's actually from that large donut puzzle. This is excess scrap wood. And I get to place this wherever that I want that's gonna fit. So I'm just gonna place it right there. So we will go ahead and press the print. There we have it, another little piece. And it's got that masking on it, so once the masking gets pulled off, then it looks like this guy. And then I paint it. And that's what you get it to look like, all colorful. So you've seen how I make puzzles, and I have this one that I'm super excited about because Kat's the one that I was showing you before. And this is the first little test. So now I have a handful of cats, and there's 9 of them, so I named it 9 Lives. Now when I decide to take the design that I've tested on the laser, this Glowforge, if I've tested out the design and I know what I want and I'm gonna go into production mode and cut a lot of them, I don't do it on here. I don't do it on here because it's kind of slow. As you saw with Tommy, or as you're going to see, either way, we have a much larger laser that he built. And I will take, for example, I will start doing these cats. I'll make a bunch of them to hand out at the Puzzle Parley in July. And I will do it on that laser, and it will take a third of the time that it took to cut it on here. Now, if you are interested in picking up some wooden puzzles or sending them to somebody else that has a big house compared to an RV where they can store them in, then you can find them at 3 Cat Max. It's the number 3, catmax.com. And you will find dragonflies and donuts, and I don't have much else up on there because I'm getting ready for Puzzle Parley. So you could also go to that in Rochester. Maybe I'll see you there. Bye!
All right, so you guys have met Janelle. This is her husband, Tommy. So Tommy is an engineer. And you can see the mind of an engineer makes you kind of wonder sometimes, right?
The messy, messy mind.
So he's working on a quadcopter. One of his, for his senior project for his master's. That was a fun one, right?
Yeah, that was actually, one of those was kind of one of the precursors to it.
Yeah, so he had to build a quadcopter from scratch, program it all up. What was the premise of that? It had to...
So my focus in school was control system theory. So we actually created the control and stabilization algorithms to keep them in the air. It was kind of rudimentary at the time. There was a lot of things that you don't know what you don't know until you get there. But we intentionally put the blinders on and made a point of not researching anything that anybody else has done already. And they flew. We succeeded. But there's a lot of things that now, knowing what has been done in kind of the open source community of control and stabilization for these things, we should have done things a little bit better. So
yeah. And your professor that was over you at the time called that a flying blender?
I mean, a lot of the guys at the field still call them flying blenders.
Yeah, so,
that's kind of what they are.
Yeah, these are, I mean, you get these little DJI drones and things from Costco, and they're hardly anything. When this thing starts up that he's holding right there, everybody in the whole field can hear it running, right?
Yeah, they usually panic a little bit. So these are pretty loud, especially these. And these will take a lot of abuse. So this one I've tumbled at probably 20 to 40 miles an hour. These are freestyle drones, so they're about 3 to 5 millimeters of carbon fiber layup, and they have almost no flex in them. But they take a lot of abuse. These are basically built off-the-shelf parts from a lot of different vendors. But, occasionally you do have to repair them. This one, I tore a capacitor off of it, so I've got to solder that back. And this one, I managed to tear my receiver antenna off, which, in case you didn't know, is a necessary component. So,
so I guess that brings up the question here. We're talking RC planes, so remote control somethings, fixed wings or drones or whatever, they're all the same, right? I mean, as far as controlling
same
them.
basic concepts.
Yep. So Does somebody need to be an engineer to be able to be in this sport?
Absolutely not. It's actually no, absolutely not. Nothing you do would be necessarily bleeding edge. A lot of the work has already been done. It's actually fairly accessible. You got companies like Rotor Riot that have complete turnkey kits. Same thing with the planes. There's a lot of companies that have ready-to-fly kits that'll sell you a remote with an airplane and everything. As a matter of fact, if someone was interested in flying, they could find their local AMA club. Here we've got 2 clubs. Here we got Perry RC Flyers, and we've also got Gamma, which is, I believe, the Georgia Aeronautical Modelers Association. So we have 2 clubs, and it's one of those things that if you're brand new and you're interested, you should just show up to the field. Saturdays and Sundays, show up to their field, talk to folks. A lot of guys will kind of walk you through what the minimum setup you need is. Between all the club members, there's usually, you can buy a setup for dirt cheap to get you in the air fairly quickly. This is one of those hobbies you can spend as much or as little as you want. These are a little bit on the pricier side for these high performance units. But you can get started for a lot cheaper. You don't need an HD camera. This is 1080p. You don't necessarily need that. You can start off with an analog camera, which are quite honestly dirt cheap and readily available. There's a lot of used things.
And these are drones, and that's a whole nother expense compared to just fixed wings or foam planes, right? I mean, my original plane was a Radian, cost me like $60.
Same, so, solid plane.
Yeah, so, and it's just a glider, so good way to start. But you got to spend time doing it. And so what was the main thing that you changed in your life with all your hobbies?
So I had a lot of hobbies, a lot of interests. It was kind of split up amongst way too many things and wasn't doing any of those things particularly well. So an example is like ham radio. I was into mechanical keyboards. And also I was trying to do flying. And finally, you kind of get to a point where you need to kind of trim the fat a little bit and focus on one thing so you can really enjoy it. And quite honestly, there's a little bit of relief and kind of burden lifted when I said, okay, my heart's really not in the ham radio stuff. I sat down and I sold all that stuff and really just focused on this. And for several months, I would go out every weekend just flying, just putting in the seat time. And now I'm a pretty okay pilot, and I actually enjoy it. I have gotten to the point now where I'm comfortable buying new planes and flying them once I set them all up. But it just takes trimming the fat on those other hobbies that you're not giving the real attention they need, and focus on just kind of flying drones and airplanes. And now it just kind of consumes me. So most of my weekends are spent flying, any free time that I have, and it's phenomenal. Going back on the money thing, one of my favorite planes to fly right now is this big 30-year-old balsa airplane that I bought for $40 at the show that we had here recently. So cost of entry it can be very, very low. And a lot of guys have planes that just haven't flown for years, especially the balsa ones. A lot of times folks will just give you one away if they know you're going to actually put it up in the air and fly it. So it's not as expensive to get into as people believe. So,
all right, this is the 3D printer room. Laser cutters, printers.
Yeah, it's a whole slew of mess in here.
So this is 3D lasered or 3D printed motor mount.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yep. So this is basically, it's a beauty. This is a filament 3D printer. Basically printed a motor mount that has basically 3 degrees down, 2 degrees to the right of tilt to compensate for P factor and thrust angle.
That just all went over my head.
You're doing great. But it's nice because, it's a really solid piece, and I'm able to print it out of, $1 or $2 of filament, and versus if I get a metal motor mount adapter, it's basically $20 to $30. We'll also get a resin 3D printer. Works a little bit differently. It doesn't deposit material. It's just a pool of resin that sits at the bottom. It's a liquid. And essentially what happens is there's a screen on the bottom. This bed goes all the way down to there's about a few microns of space between that. It shines a UV light on it in the shape that it needs, and it just keeps pulling up and coming down doing that.
Wow.
We've got a couple lasers here. This is just a curing box. So this will do UV light to help that stuff cure once you got it out and cleaned up. This little guy is a 30 or 40 watt, I can't remember which, fiber laser. And this will actually etch metal. I used to have some examples here, but I think they got used for all kinds of other things. Actually, like this metal bookmark. So that's a thing. And that's this laser right here. This laser type's called a galvanometer, where essentially it's got two mirrors. It's very, very fast, really fun. This beast is our 100-watt CO2 laser that we built.
Yeah. You built this all yourself, right?
Yes. So for everything that we wanted to get an equivalent commercial off-the-shelf unit would have been about $30,000. We have a Glowforge laser inside, but we wanted something that would do 4 times the speed. So we built our own. It looks a lot more intimidating than it is in there. Here's your control box. But lots of stuff, lots of safety features. Laser power supply, stepper motor power supply, stepper motor drivers, the overall controller. Got some different power supplies. I forget what the heck this is called. It's not an EMI filter. It's a soft start. So we needed a soft start. We've got 2 soft starts in the system. One is for the laser power supply because it draws a lot of current on startup. And the stepper motor power supply also has one. And it helps keeping from tripping circuit breakers, or in my case, blowing fuses inside the system. But a lot of safety features built in, a lot of redundant protection because, we're running on a 20 amp circuit here. We don't
have all the power you may have in a bigger shop.
Yeah. So we put the materials we're working with on here. We've got a lot of little 3D printed or laser cut parts that act as hold downs on the material, and we use we cut on this sucker all the time. So
you use this for your plane parts?
Yeah.
And for Janelle's puzzles?
Yeah. It's surprisingly handy to just be able to make stuff up, and it's really fun. It's really nice.
Pretty cool that you just made this whole thing yourself. A lot bigger than the other one.
Yeah. A lot of it is off-the-shelf stuff, and a lot of it was stuff that we made up as we went along. Like this tray. That was something we made with some door slides. But it really helps to not have to reach in the machine, so you can load everything out here and then just slide it back in place and off to the races. But it's 100-watt power. The one we got inside is about 30.
This holds it well enough that it's not moving while it's lasering.
That's not going anywhere. It's actually got a little detent at the end, so it locks in place, and that's really solid. But yeah, we've got ventilation that runs out the back for the different things. For the filament 3D printer, we normally don't use it because we're not in here. If we're in here, we'll open up a vent for the 3D filament. Because realistically, a lot of people don't realize these 3D printers do off-gas quite a bit of VOCs. And you really should not be in the room with them. The resin 3D printer is bordering on vile, the smells that come out of that thing. So we absolutely are never in here when that's running. And we do make a point of it of really venting this out, because the 3D printers are kind of interesting because they kind of market them as being safe, and some of them have like little charcoal things, but realistically I would never be in the room with one of these.
So these are just covers for... Yeah,
just simple covers so while we're running the vacuum on the vent on the big guy, we're not losing airflow through any of these other...
Just kind of like a big old wood shop.
Yeah. Wood shop 2024 version.
Yeah, really.
So the idea is to get the skin as tight as it can.
Yeah. So kind of like if you over on this wing.
Oh, so that's hollow under there.
Yeah, so it kind of, this wing is real nice and tight. There was some random repair done there that I really need to tear off and fix. Just came with the plane. But you want it kind of as tight as possible so it forms like a continuous airfoil over the wing or whatever surface you're on. So like I showed you, this is not really tacky on one side. And normally you'd want to clean off all the old residue, but you know, I've got very little money in this. I'm just trying to get it to the point where I can go fly it.
And that's just activating the glue and...
Yeah, just tack it in place in a couple spots. Yep, that's all it is. Just getting it tacked up in a couple different spots and then go through, trim it, and do the thing.
And in this case, all it is a covering.
Yep.
Where on the wing up there, that's all open, so it's actually...
Yeah. Well, this guy has holes in it too for, you know, for a little bit of lightning, but for the most part, and I would actually say covering the wings is easier because things tighten really well. Whenever you have like a sealed surface with a tiny air gap in it, that's when things get a little weird and wonky when you go to heat them up. So yeah, I used to be that, you know, this is the sort of thing you have a gray beard showing you, but now I'm just, you know, figuring it out as I go along or using YouTube as a reference. Less than perfect, but that'll do.
So this is a flying club, Perry RC Flyers. It's always nice when there's a club close by where you can actually go out and fly and not have to worry about all the other people or houses around you.
If it's not raining, I'm out here every weekend, so gotten a lot of seat time in and now feel comfortable just basically any plane I buy, I don't have anybody made in it for me. I go out there and just fly it.
What's your most expensive plane?
Probably this one right here. Because I haven't really paid more than $200 for any plane. Yeah, that one right there. But that one was complete, where literally I just slapped a receiver in it, and phenomenal plane. It's a really, really high quality build. But a lot of the guys like the foamies because they're easy to repair. Well, I like the balsa ones because they fly lighter and they just fly different. I don't know how to describe it, but they just fly different. The goal is just to fly over and over and over until you figure it out. Just keep flying it until the wheels fall off, and you know, you get comfortable flying something, and that's the only way you get better. And it also, you know, flying at your limits is how you get better. So it's kind of one of those things like, yes, a lot of people have that same plane with a receiver that has safe, that, you know, like you let go of the sticks and it levels you out. I don't have any of that.
So if you're not crashing, you're not learning.
Yeah, that's kind of it. And if you're not challenging yourself, you know, you're not getting any better. So, but it's nice that we have this community of, you know, morons that encourages you and actually will help you out. You know, if you have a servo bust or something, you know, 5 guys will offer you a servo, you know, so it's pretty nice.
So what's this little plane called?
This is a Speed Cat. So there's a guy, and I forget what his name is, but he basically designed a foam version of this. And I've built 6 or 8 of them, and I've flown them, but they are fairly fast, and when they crash, they usually explode. So I get 3 or 4 flights out of them. This one is a balsa version, and we are hoping for a solid 30 seconds of flight.
Good luck. You know you got up trimmed in it already, right?
Well, it's a little flop.
Never mind. Who cares? Piece of
The
shit
pills ain't working.
That's all you got. That's all you got.
All right. Yeah.
Get behind him. Let me fly before you crash it, Tommy. Good job.
Woo! Woo! Done.
That color mismatch is even worse in the sun.
Well, I know you don't have as much bad luck. Yeah, we're not having a lot of luck with green airplanes, so don't crash it. This fireman can't think of that.
All right, well, that ends this little visit. We've been here for 12 nights. We've got a lot of stuff done on the RV. We did a complete brake job here. You can see that it's all brand new rotors, calipers, and brakes. Look how close that wore that down. That's from having the brakes on when we were pulling the car, forgetting to take the brake off. We did a complete brake job on the car.
We like to brake, obviously.
Yeah, everything had to be replaced, so we went ahead and did that. Plus we packed the front bearings. I don't have a picture of that, but anyway, it all got done, and you got to meet our daughter and her husband, yeah, and see what their exciting stuff is. So we had a lot of fun flying planes, and Ninette had fun doing puzzles with Janelle and
baking.
painting, and here's her 2 puzzles she painted. So see, she had fun too.
I have to show everybody.
Yeah.
I'm gonna fix that.
So anyway, we are all hooked up and ready to move on. So we are headed over to Savannah today, and we have quite a few stops to make on our way over there. We're gonna stay at a Cracker Barrel tonight. So we will be taping a few quirkies that we have found between here and where we're going to stay.
The Tick Museum today?
Yep.
One of them's
the Tick Museum. So that's got to be interesting, right? Yeah. So anyway, so thanks for coming along with us, and we'll just plan on seeing you guys down the road somewhere. So if not, then hopefully on our next video. So you guys take care.
Bye.